Yo, what's up, guys? What a win tonight for the Maple Leafs, defeating the Anaheim Ducks tonight, 5-4 in overtime. Of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, guys, decide to have one of their better games of the season. Of course, a lot of us Leaf fans are trying to focus on Tank Nation, trying to be in the bottom five, trying to get a top pick this year, obviously, due to the fact that former GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, now Treliving, of course, didn't make that top 10 pick protected, of course, guys, and then obviously, like I just mentioned there, Treliving is out as GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We find out about an hour and a half right before puck drop, guys. I'm going to talk about the Treliving firing, what came to this decision for Leafs management, of course. Let's talk about the game a little bit. Then I'm going to get into Treliving getting fired and everything else, something that we all feel that was obviously inevitable at the end of this season, how everything turned out this year, the trades he made, of course. So it was obviously bound to happen, of course. But coming, 8 games left before the season is over is obviously a bit of a surprise to a lot of us fans, right? But I'll get more into it after we talk about the game a little bit. But we obviously knew that this game was going to be a very chippy game, of course, meeting the Anaheim Ducks since the injury to Austin Matthews, the dirty hit by Radko Gudas, and there was obviously some chatter about Gudas not playing in this game because he had gotten injured a few games prior. But he said he was going to play in this game, man up, take his licks, do what he had to do in this game. And very evident that that's what happened in the first couple seconds of this hockey game, guys. Max Domi stepping up to fight Radko Gudas. We obviously know the relationship that Max Domi has with Austin Matthews, guys. We know that he's very close with them. He's obviously the guy who's been on the team the longest, that started the game, of course, with the starting lineup out there. So Domi was the one who obviously decided to step up for Matthews, fight Gudas. Really good fight by Domi as well. Really happy that he fought. I would have loved to have seen a line brawl. That would have been great as well. Obviously, that did not happen. Glad to see Domi fight, get his licks in on Gudas. You can see Gudas didn't really fight back, was dealing with an injury as well. Knew that he couldn't really fight back after the dirty shit that he did to Matthews. So he took his licks. Good on Max Domi to stand up for Matthews. Would have loved to see this happen, of course, immediately after Matthews went down. We'll love to see the Leafs play like this, like they played tonight in every bloody game. In games 1 to game 82 and including the playoffs, obviously not counting this year, of course, guys. But, the Leafs responded really well in this game tonight, guys. Obviously, it didn't start off great. Of course, Anaheim go on a 2-0 lead. You got 2 goals by Carlson and Cutter Gauthier. The first goal, the Leafs couldn't get the puck out, had a broken stick, couldn't get it out deep enough. We saw Anaheim come back in. Terry finds Carlson there wide open, to get the shot off there to make it 1-0. He's wide open in front. Easy entry for the Ducks there. Stolarz is caught no man's land. Carlson has a wide open net there to make it 1-0 for the Ducks. And then we saw the Leafs and Anaheim getting into a lot of scraps in this game after the whistle, a lot of scrums as we saw. And then Anaheim get a power play. The Leafs give up a really bad goal. Stolarz probably going to want that back. It's a pretty weak goal. Cutter Gauthier gets a goal for Anaheim on the power play to make it 2-0. And then Gauthier didn't see the rest of this game. He was hurt. He got hurt on the play prior to the goal. Didn't play the rest of this game. He's Anaheim's highest goal scorer. Has the most goals since February 1st. So he is a real vital piece for the Anaheim Ducks, guys, there. And for him to leave the game, clearly hurt the Ducks. He's their best player, one of their best offensive players, of course. The Ducks take a 2-0 lead. The Leafs, they continue to battle, showed heart, showed energy. You saw William Nylander knock over Ville Husso. You saw Easton Cowan defend him there. Beautiful of Easton Cowan to defend William Nylander. Now, obviously, we'll love to see William Nylander get up a little bit quicker, get involved in the scrap, and, help defend himself, with Easton Cowan. They're defending him as well. But, this is what drives me nuts about William Nylander. Sometimes you want to see a little bit more energy and a little bit more passion, but we all know that William Nylander's not a fighter. He's not the type of guy to get involved in the scrums. He's never been that type of player. Don't expect him to be that type of player now 10 years into his career, but would obviously like to see more of a reaction from Willie. But we saw that with his level of play tonight in this game, having 4 points tonight for the Maple Leafs, guys. He was great in that third period, specifically William Nylander. He was incredible, to say the least, in that third period, guys. But, Leafs getting involved in scrums, standing up for each other. We saw Pizzetta get ejected from the game. He got involved with Gudas a few times. It was a ridiculous call to kick Pizzetta out of the game as well there, guys, because the refs, with George Pearls being in the building tonight, the refs were trying to avoid fighting. And, they kicked Pizzetta out of the game for abusing a ref. It's like the first time I've ever seen that nonsense. the refs trying to be, getting involved in the game, getting talked about a lot in this game. Obviously trying to not let anything get escalated, of course, because Perros was there. It's like absolutely pathetic to me. Perros could take a hike. The refs can take a hike. Wes McCauley specifically could take a bloody hike. They're an absolute joke, to say the least, guys, in the way they officiated in this game at points. So it was an absolute joke, to say the least. John Tavares was able to cut the deficit down to 2-1. The Leafs' power play was pretty decent tonight, scoring twice on the power play, 2 for 5. The PK, I thought, was solid tonight, 1 for 5. Really a good job killing penalties tonight. Tavares did a good job getting that goal there to cut it down to 2-1. It was a really nice goal to get in front of the net there in that open space there. Power play looked decent at times in this game tonight, guys. And the Leafs in the second period, didn't get a goal, but, they still battled hard. Domi got into a second fight of the night, getting ejected from the game for being an aggressor. So, love seeing that energy from Max Domi, of course, but I just wish I saw it, last year against Florida. Obviously more this year before Matthews went down. Of course, us Leaf fans ask ourselves, where in Christ's name was this in years past? And obviously the games this season, of course, where was this energy, this fight, this hunger? Listen, guys, this has been the problem that with this Core 4 era, they never did these type of things. You saw certain players just stand around at times in past games. You want to see this more and more often with the Maple Leafs, fighting for each other, standing up for each other. We saw that with Domi tonight, looking a lot like his father tonight, getting in multiple scrums and scraps. That's what we want to see. It was great to see Domi do that. Obviously we want to see that more often in the past and obviously maybe next year, of course, but really unfortunate situation, that he got ejected. Pizzetta got ejected. We were short 2 guys, the Maple Leafs, in this game tonight, guys. So, a lot of guys had to play a lot of extra shifts tonight in this game. So there was a lot of guys getting more minutes, more opportunities tonight. Bolgru had to get called up again. Didn't play in the last game, played in this game tonight, drew a penalty to lead for a goal for the Leafs tonight after Carlson had made it 3-1, off a play where the Leafs had too many guys in Anaheim's end on a 4-on-4. Carlson's able to get the snipe on Stolarz. There was a really nice shot to make it 3-1 for the Ducks, the only goal of the second period. But the Leafs are battling, still having chances on net there. We saw McCabe get to a scrap with Gudas. He got a misconduct. McCabe got a misconduct as well. The Leafs had over 50 penalty minutes tonight, guys. 59 penalty minutes combined for the Maple Leafs tonight. Pizzetta had 22. McCabe had, I think it was 15 or 16. And Domi had 15, guys. So it was nuts. The amount of penalty minutes the Leafs had tonight, and it was great to see. Get your pound of flesh tonight. We saw the Leafs do that as well, just getting into scraps, defending each other. Stoli, he was hovering around the center of the ice, guys. He wanted to get into a scrap. He got snowed at one point in the third, wanted to stick a guy, like really chop a guy between the legs there because he got snowed there. So it was a very crazy game, a very active game to say the least, guys. But give the Leafs some credit, guys. They did battle in this game tonight, Of course, with this game against Anaheim, with all the talk with Gudas and everything else, Treliving getting fired, you knew the Leafs were going to show some character in this game tonight, But to come back down from 2 goals, in this game, where the Leafs have shown some lack of offense in games, the game against St. Louis was pathetic, having only 13 shots on net, So the Leafs tonight, was really surprising how they battled in this game. The offense they showed in that third period, the Leafs were the better team in the third period, to say the least, guys. Let me go agree on that. They were the way better team in the third period, Leafs dominated the ozone time, dictated play, dictated tempo, Leafs were able to draw another penalty on Anaheim. Nyes was able to get a goal to cut it down to 3-2. Then we saw Nylander get a breakaway with the beautiful defensive play by Cowan. Willie got the puck there on the breakaway to tie it up at 3-3 there. William was great tonight, guys, especially in that third period with 4 points, a goal and 3 assists. So for him to get a goal there, make it 3-3, guys. And then after we saw Willie with the great pass to Morgan Riley on the odd man rush to make it 4-3 for the Leafs, guys. And I'm saying to myself, this Maple Leafs team just drives me up a freaking wall, man. When I want them to tank, they play well. When I want them to play well, they play like shit. We can't win with this hockey team, guys. Then we saw Carlson, getting a tying goal there, his second goal of the game. He got bloody hurt in the second period. It looked like he wasn't going to be able to come back in this game, and he comes back this game miraculously, ties it up at 4-4 with a really nice goal for the Ducks there, guys. And the Ducks and Leafs split a point each going into overtime there, tied up at 4-4, guys. And then as we saw, guys, Leafs had chances, continue to push. Anaheim had a breakaway. Stolarz made some absolutely massive saves in overtime to give the Leafs a chance to win this hockey game, guys, and then Morgan Rielly, really nice pass by him to see John Tavares backdoor to give the Leafs the win in overtime, a 5-4 victory in overtime tonight. John Tavares, I thought, was solid tonight with 2 goals and an assist. And give Morgan Rielly some credit. I thought he was really good tonight, had a goal and an assist and was a +1 tonight. Wasn't a minus tonight. I thought he played pretty well tonight. O'Yell was good tonight as well with two assists. Cowan was good tonight with 2 assists, guys. Nylander, like I said, had 4 points. Those guys there combined with Nylander, Tavares, and Cowan combined for 9 points tonight. By far the best line for the Maple Leafs, guys. By far one of the best games of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That you obviously knew they were going to play with some passion and energy tonight with Matthews obviously being out for the season. With Anaheim trying to compete for a playoff spot, being first in their division. Their division is, my God, the Pacific Division is absolutely putrid, to say the least, guys. The Ducks as well, trying to get the first spot. You thought they would be a little bit more smarter, not doing those type of things, fighting as much as they did, getting as many scraps. Losing this extra point tonight for the Ducks really hurt them tonight, guys. I think, this was an important game for them. And the Leafs went in there, played spoiler, really got the job done tonight, found a way to beat the Ducks, really hurt them in the standings. Obviously the Ducks are banged up a little bit, like Gudas as well. Gauthier getting hurt, Carlson getting hurt, even though he returned tonight. The Leafs got their pound of flesh tonight, I felt, guys. Did a really good job responding in this game tonight. Got the 2 points tonight. Give this team some credit. You got some stand-up performances from Rielly and Ekman-Larsson. Nylander, Tavares, and Cowan were solid. Knives was okay tonight. Had that goal, was a -2 tonight. Wasn't amazing tonight, but was pretty decent. Michelli was quiet tonight. Robertson was quiet tonight. Joshua was quiet tonight. Gruel had some okay shit tonight. Drew the penalty, like I mentioned there, guys. So he wasn't horrible tonight, but it was a really chippy game, to say the least. A very entertaining game, guys. Really loved what I saw tonight in this hockey game, but like I said, it doesn't do the Leafs any favors tonight for Tank Nation. Trying to get that bottom 5 pick. San Jose beat St. Louis tonight in regulation, so San Jose is right there with the Leafs. The Leafs getting these 2 points tonight, 77 points. You don't do yourselves any favors. Of course, it's very frustrating, to get this win tonight for the tank reasons, of course, but to beat the Ducks tonight really hurt them in the standings. Really give Gudas his licks tonight. Give some other guys some licks tonight. I thought the Maple Leafs guys responded in the right way tonight to get the 2 points and really spoil the Anaheim Ducks night tonight and really stand up for their captain tonight with some solid performances from certain players. Domi sticking up for Matthews as well with the 2 fights. Pizzetta getting ejected, unfortunately. McCabe as well. Really liked what I saw tonight, guys, by the Maple Leafs. Now, of course, we all know that the Leafs as well played tonight in this game, guys, because Brad Treliving is obviously no longer the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. Now, we obviously knew that it was inevitable. We heard Elliot Friedman say during the pregame that Brad Treliving told Leafs management, if you're going to fire me, you might as well fire me now. Get the process going, right away. And that's clearly what Keith Pelly did. Brad Treliving, guys, I think we could all agree, his first year coming in as Maple Leafs GM, replacing Kyle Dubas. You knew he had a little bit of his hands tied. Dubas made a bit of a mess, trading all the draft picks. Marner had his no move clause, kicking in a month after he just got hired. You knew he wasn't going to be able to trade him because Brendan Shanahan got in the way, was hovering over him a lot his first season. We obviously know what happened at the end of the year with the Leafs getting eliminated by the Boston Bruins in 7 games. There was a disaster, of course, guys. We obviously knew where the Leafs' problems stood, of course. They fired Sheldon Keefe, brought in Craig Berube, of course, guys. Obviously, Marner left last year, signed Nice to the extension, gave William Nylander his big extension, guys. Matthews as well. So, gave all these guys big deals. Obviously tried to extend Marner. Marner decided to walk. Treliving tried to improve this team, but unfortunately, he did more damage than trying to improve this team, guys. We obviously know that he made some horrendous deals, especially last season, of course, guys. Tried to improve this team, guys, in many ways. I'll talk about the moves that he made while he was with the Maple Leafs, guys. He traded a 5th-round pick for Sam Lafferty, for Ilya Lyubushkin for a 3rd and a 6th-rounder, and Kirill Slepes. He traded for Joel Edmondson at 50% retention and picks in the 3rd and 5th round. Connor Dewar for a 4th and Dmitry Ochenikov. You had Matt Benning he traded for a 3rd and a 6th for Timothy Liljegren. And then obviously you got the big deals with Scott Lawton for a 4th and a 6th rounder, and for a 1st and Nikita Gurbankin. Obviously, that was obviously one of the big daggers for him getting fired, of course. And then the worst of them all was Brandon Carlo for Fraser Minton and picks for a 1st and a 4th rounder, guys. That was the deal breaker right there. For Boston to be possibly getting a top 10 picks this year, guys, that right there was the dagger for me with Brad Treliving, guys. Then you had Michelli for a 3rd, Nick Wan, the Marner Wrights deal, of course, Thrun for Reeves, and then Joshua for a 4th round pick, guys. Obviously, not great moves for the Maple Leafs. Some moves, most of the moves, did not pan out for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think one of the only moves that were actually success was Troy Stecher claiming he came off waivers, honestly. So, Brad Treliving, guys, deserved to get fired. Obviously, I don't wish someone to get fired, but they won the division last year. Things completely turned on its head this year, guys. Tried to bring in some pieces like Michelli and Joshua. Didn't really replace Marner. It's hard to replace a guy that gives you 102 points, but unfortunately, guys, Brad Treliving did more damage than good for the Maple Leafs. He deserved to get fired. There's a lot of rumors going around that who his successor is going to be. Dougie Armstrong, of course, from St. Louis. Obviously, there's some rumors about Chris Pronger as well. There's going to be a lot of interesting things happening this summer, guys. We still don't know what the future holds regarding Craig Berube. There's still nothing decided regarding his future, guys. Of course, the Leafs won the division last year, but the way the style of play that he implements, the way the team has played, the way Matthews has struggled offensively at times. You got guys like Nylander saying he's got comments he wants to keep to himself. So there's a lot of things that you say to yourself, it's probably better that he ended the season. You have his separation with Berube as well. Start from scratch. I have no idea what Keith Pelly has up his sleeve. He obviously has a meeting tomorrow he has a press conference with the media tomorrow at 2:00. Do the Leafs hire a president now after not having one this year? Do they hire a president and then hire a GM, then a head coach? I have no idea what they're going to do, but I know that Keith Pelly has a lot of questions that need to be answered, especially about a lot of people wondering why, if you were going to fire Treliving now, why did you let him handle the deadline? Obviously, that is a great question to ask. I didn't expect Keith Pelly to fire Treliving, near the deadline, especially during the Olympic break. I didn't expect it to happen, but why fire the man a month after? Obviously, I guess the way the season went, how everything went after the Olympic break, I bet you Pelly probably thought maybe the Leafs can make a push. If he did, he's blind because the Leafs team this year showed they're very inconsistent, and that maybe Treliving should have been fired, but he chose not to do it, decided to fire him. Now with 8 games left, Treliving clearly seemed to push that idea more now than wait till the end of the year. We'll see what happens, guys, with the successor of Brad Treliving. We'll see what Keith Pelly has to say tomorrow, guys. It's going to be a very interesting press conference tomorrow. Hopefully you got some guys asking Keith Pelly some difficult questions. I know Steve Simmons is going to be one of those guys that's going to hammer home some difficult questions for Keith Pelly, and he deserves it. This season has been a mess. It's been a disaster. The trades Treliving made, possibly giving Boston a top 10 pick this year. The way this team has been constructed, the style of play, guys, it has not been good enough this season. The 9-year streak of making the playoffs is going to snap this year. Obviously, we know the Leafs have had failings in the playoffs, only winning twice. 2 playoff round wins, guys. It has not been good enough for the Maple Leafs, guys. Keith Pelly has a lot of difficult questions to answer. Brad Treliving is no longer the GM of the Maple Leafs, guys. It's unfortunately deserved. Don't wish somebody to get fired, but the trades I mentioned there, guys, the transactions he made were just not good enough for the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. And unfortunately now, for Brad Treliving, he does not have a job anymore. I think it was the right move for the Maple Leafs to let him go. Let's hope to God the Leafs hit the nail on the head on the next hire, guys. They absolutely cannot make a mistake on this hire. Brendan Shanahan wanted to use that excuse. Brad Treliving was the best option out there because Kyle Dubas tried to pull a rug under my feet and went straight to management, went over my head. So I had to hire the best guy available, and that was Brad Treliving. After the disastrous deals, with obviously Kachuk forcing his way to Calgary, trying to sign Huberdeau, signing Huberdeau to that massive deal, of course, getting Uyghur as well. The trade at first looked good, but then signing Huberdeau right away to that massive extension before he even played a bloody game, that was a major mistake by him. Getting nothing for Johnny Gaudreau as well, and then the Leafs hiring him. There's obviously a lot of criticism for the brass for hiring Treliving, guys, not having a great track record as well. Very understandable, guys. But this season, guys, I think we can all agree has been an absolute disappointment in more ways than one, with the coaching, upper management, the trades he's made, the way the team has played in general, guys. Not sticking up for Matthews in the game against Anaheim. Doing that tonight, obviously a little bit too little too late, guys, but really nice to see the Leafs respond in this game tonight. We'll see how the Maple Leafs do in their next game, guys. I'm pretty sure it's against the San Jose Sharks, another team that they're trying to finish bottom 5 below. Of course, the Sharks are right. They're trying to compete for a playoff spot. We'll see how the Leafs do in their next game, guys. You know, really solid win for the Leafs tonight. Good response to them. Got some really solid performances tonight by certain veteran players. Cowan played well tonight as well. Getting better as time goes on in the NHL. He's progressing well as a player, learning from his mistakes, becoming a better player as the season progresses, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does next season, guys, with the Maple Leafs. Loved what I saw him defending Nylander. Loved what I saw from the Leafs tonight, getting into all these scraps and scrums, defending each other. It was great to see Stoley as well getting involved in scraps, bumping Cuso during a commercial break as well. Love to see that shit. Want to see it more next season. Want to see this team get more aggressive and obviously defend each other more. I think all of us Leaf fans want that, guys. We'll see how the Leafs do next game, guys. Treliving is no longer the GM of the Maple Leafs. It is the right decision. They had to do it, guys. They asked for it. The players didn't. The players, didn't perform well enough. Treliving falls on the sword. Berube should be next. Let's hope the Maple Leafs hire the right guy next. Hopefully it's a guy that is right for the job. Somebody who knows what it takes to win. I don't care about experience as long as you get a hockey mind in there. Somebody who knows what it takes to win. If it's somebody with inexperience like a Chris Pronger, sure, that's a bit of a risk. But Pronger's obviously a winner, knows what it takes to win. Maybe if you hire him and Dougie Armstrong, I don't know if they both want the same position as president. Just spitballing, guys, throwing out an example there. We'll love to your guys' thoughts and opinions on what the Maple Leafs should do, who they should hire, what Keith Pelly's probably going to say tomorrow, what to expect in the offseason with this team, what to expect from the last 7 games of the season, of course. I hope the Leafs continue to lose. Obviously, this game for me was a one-off tonight. Sure, I would have liked to see the Leafs lose, but they didn't tonight. Screwed the Ducks over a little bit. That was great to see, guys. Beat the Ducks both times, of course, this year. We'll see how the Leafs do in the next game, guys. Love your guys' thoughts and opinions on this one, guys. So like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Leafs, go as always, guys. See you guys on the next episode of Leafs Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.